Acebeam has a new light with the E70 Mini. It's a smaller version of the E70 that I've reviewed in the past, that I have here in brass, but this time it's running on an 18650 and it runs triple Nichia 519a LEDs. The Nichia 519a is the new hotness in the enthusiast flashlight communities. It's the successor to the popular Nichia 219b and C, but the new version is brighter, and more importantly, it has become known for its very neutral and rosy tint if you want it to be. Thanks to Acebeam for sending this one to me, and the thoughts and opinions here have not been influenced by anyone other than myself. Quick look at the packaging, and I'll throw up better pictures here. It's a plain white retail box, really nothing on the outside other than names. Inside, the accessories include a 3100 milliamp hour button top protected battery, and that is optional. It's got onboard USB-C charging. You get a short A to C charging cable, and you get an Acebeam lanyard, spare O-rings, warranty card, and manual. So let's take a look at the construction and design. The E70 Mini, for all intents and purposes, is a scaled down version of the E70, and I'll kind of leave the E70 up here for a little bit of the review so you can kind of compare. For now, the Mini here is available only in flat anodized black aluminum. It is a premium feel of anodizing, much better than the slick kind in my opinion. The inner aluminum tube here is blue and very, very similar again to the other model. I'd expect to see different materials here being offered at some point like they did with the full size if the Mini becomes popular, which I think it will be. The tail features a flat aluminum switch that covers the E-switch. It does tail stand there, and around the sides here you have some interesting mounting options, and I'll get to those more in a minute, but for now you can see it has a clip and it is not magnetic. The body tube has the same pattern milled into it here, allows you to see through. It's not a super grippy pattern, but it does the job. You're not going to drop this one. It has several places for tritium tubes, 1x6mm tritium tubes, the standard size. You have 6 slots on the body tube here and then 6 more in the head. Threads here are anodized and very nicely cut. It is a dual wall light. You've got a spring in the rear and a spring in the head here, and you do need a protected battery here, or button top at least. Your normal flat top batteries here, like I've got, are just way too short to make contact here. I was able to make contact if I put a small magnet down, but for now, I'll use the cell that it came with. The bezel here is also made from that stainless steel and dark anodized. The knurling here is relatively smooth. It's not going to cut you up or anything like that. And this bezel does unscrew fairly easily. There's an O-ring and then the glass on top of the TIR optic. I do think this will lead to some people modding and probably de-doming these LEDs, as that's a popular thing to do. The rear of the light has these 3 wings, as you can see here. First, you've got the one with the pocket clip attached on there. Normal Torx bits there, and this pocket clip has a standoff. It's stainless steel pocket clip. It's a good pocket clip. It's very stiff. It did a good job of retention in the pocket. It's long in comparison to the light here. I've got nothing bad to say, and it's fairly deep carry. If I look one to the left of the clip, you've got another pattern of holes here that are threaded and tapped. It's the steel flame style clip size, so you'll be able to fit this with tons of clips from other manufacturers, either custom or not, and they will fit on there just fine if you want. And then you've got your place for your lanyard hole here. That's going to be a little tough, I think, to get on, especially if you take it on and take it off. I think once it's on, you probably should leave it. One more thing on the clip here, it does have this glossy hard finish, and I like that. It looks cool when you get your hand oils on it. It almost takes a little bit of color to it. I'm not sure if you can see that on camera or not. So size and weight wise, I measured the light at 111.34 millimeters in length, 25.96 millimeters in diameter at the head, and 23.39 in the body. Weight with the Acebeam battery and clip installed came in at 124.8 grams or 4.4 ounces. It is impact resistant to 1 meter and IPX68 while rated to 2 meters. And here are a few photos of similar lights. I know I've got a Lumentop FW3A in there. I've got the original Acebeam E70. So it kind of gives you an idea of other triples that are similar size. As mentioned, the E70 Mini is using the latest LED from Nichia. It's the 519a, and this LED has quickly gained a cult-like following over on r/flash flashlight and on the BLF forums because of its great neutral tint that leans to the rosy side of things and high CRI. With my Opal meter, I measured it at 4,973 Kelvin, 97 CRI, and the DUV value here is very neutral, as you can see. It's the most neutral emitter that I've seen in a production light this year for sure, and maybe for several years. And no PWM was observed. The TIR optic here produces a large, even hotspot with basically no spill, as you can see on here, and the night shots will show that too. There is middle ground here between throw and flood, and it's good for normal EDC tasks in my opinion. The optic does a good job of diffusing the 3 LEDs, so it really looks like one single LED. And I'll be interested to see if people end up opening this up and de-doming it, as that's popular to do with the 519. It should make it a little bit more rosy and a little bit more throwy as well. I measured the parasitic draw at 52.1 microamps. So for output here, I measured this on my Texas Ace PVC lumen tube, and it came in short in most categories, but everything was within 80% of the rated values after about 30 seconds. My lumen tube tests other lights, and I can get up to what is claimed, so I don't know if the battery maybe here is a limiting factor or if the claimed values are maybe just a little bit inflated. Not a big concern in my opinion. Here are my night shots for the Acebeam E70 Mini, and this is on turbo, and I measured 1,592 lumens on my lumen tube. You can see it's a nice broad beam. Lots of bugs are attracted to it. It doesn't have the best throw. They rated it at 130 meters. I'm not getting that here tonight. I'm not 100% sure how far away that is, but you can see it's nice. The big thing here is the color index. Color is super accurate. Nice floody beam. This is 90 CRI, about 5,000 Kelvin. And quite nice. It is heating up on me. Here is low at 60 lumens. It does have ultra low at 12 lumens, but that doesn't show up on camera very well. You can see it's enough to see the picnic table here. That's probably 8-10 feet away, but not much beyond that. If I bump up, here is medium 2 at 140 lumens. Got a little bit more stuff over here I can show you. Here's medium 1, 300 lumens. Nice, pretty broad beam, but not a flood, kind of an in-between. And here is high at 700 lumens, is what I measured it at. The beam is a good mix of throw and flood. Good for EDC tasks here. And here is turbo again at roughly 1,600 lumens. Now to show you the difference between LEDs, this is a MSR D4. This is running Nichia 519Cs, and you can see it's stepping down because of heat here pretty aggressively. And here is the Acebeam instead. Definitely can output more, or definitely can last longer at higher outputs here. And you can see it's a nice beam, good color rendering, and well, a little bit warmer tint here than the older MSR D4 with the older LEDs. I did bring out my Acebeam E70. This is that GF FC40 LED, about 4,500 Kelvin. Single LED, it throws better. This is on high, which is going to be most similar to the Acebeam. And here is the Mini for comparison. About 5,000 Kelvin, 2,015 or 1,600 lumens. And there is the full-size light. And just for reference there's a full-size light in turbo. And there is the Mini again in turbo. So let me know what you think of the beam of the Acebeam E70 Mini. Here's one more little test. I brought out my Timascus Raylight Pineapple Mini. I've got also Nichia 519 in here. This is de-domed, so you can see it's floodier, but you can see that lovely rosy tint here. And here is the Mini, and you can see it's still a nice tint. Nothing wrong with it, but the de-domed here, it just takes on this really nice rosy color that I love. So there is the Mini, nothing wrong with this, very neutral, high CRI, also a great tint, but there are rosy options available with the 519, and some might even be tempted to de-dome the Acebeam E70 Mini, which I may do as well someday. I tested runtimes with the optional 3100 milliamp hour Acebeam battery. Turbo was good for right at a minute before stepping down to around 500 lumens, and the heat peaked at 57°C, 135 degrees Fahrenheit at 1 minute and 15 mark. So it's mostly a thermal based step down. You can trigger turbo manually again, and I did when filming some night shots, and it got to the point where it was basically too hot to hold. Running from turbo after the initial step down is pretty flat for an hour 45, and then gradual step downs for another 45 minutes till it shuts off. I did another runtime measuring turbo high and mid 2 and mid 1, and plotted them all in one graph here, and you can see turbo and high basically give the exact same runtime, which is a bit of a surprise. Mid 2 was good for 3 hours and 51 minutes, and mid 1 shut off just shy of 8 hours. UI here is, as far as I can tell, is the same as what was in the full-size E70. It's a little different from other flashlights, but easy enough to understand once you know you have to double press to turn it on. And while this isn't my favorite feature, it is a decent way to prevent the light from turning on in your pocket accidentally. To turn on the light, as I mentioned, you double press, and then the light turns on in low, and the light does have memory, so it will remember your most recent setting there. And then you press and hold for it to cycle up to the 4 available modes, including low 5. You can double press to go to turbo and triple press to go to strobe. The light also has moonlight available, which you can access from off by just long pressing, and you have to long press a decent amount there to get it to come on. This is about 12 lumens, which isn't the lowest of lows. Lastly, turn it off, as you saw there, is just a single click. So recharging, if you do purchase the Acebeam branded battery, this is what you get. It's rated for 3100 milliamp hours, but I tested it at about 3049, which is pretty good. It has a onboard USB-C charging implement there, and then you get a ring here for when it's charging, red for charging, and I think green for charged. It does have a power bank feature, even though it doesn't advertise it. I've got a USB-C cable here, and I've got it connected to a load, and I can dial this up. I dialed it all the way up to 2 amps, and it was just fine. Keep going. So there's 2.5 amps of draw there. And the top of the battery does turn blue when you do that. And I think that's pretty cool. I was also able to plug it in my cell phone. My cell phone complained that it wasn't very fast, but it charged just fine. So that's a nice little added feature if you do decide to buy the battery, as it's kind of a pricey option. I had no trouble charging this with USB-C PD or C-to-C cables with a variety of chargers. I measured low voltage protection on the cell itself at 2.931 volts and charged the battery to full at 4.131 volts in 3 hours and 2 minutes. The charging curve here looked good, and the battery charged an average of around 1 amp, definitely on the conservative side for a battery this size. My final thoughts on the Acebeam E70 Mini. I had a positive review of the original Acebeam E70. Mine was in brass and had the high CRI emitter, but it was really kind of too big and heavy for front pocket EDC use for me. The Mini solves that problem by coming in with a smaller size that fits into my hand nicely and pocket, and a lighter weight since it's made of aluminum. It makes it more carryable. It's not the smallest 18650 light around with its dual construction and triple emitters, but it does the job. For me, the best part here might be the LEDs and the beam pattern. The Nichia 519 LEDs live up to the hype for me. I've done a couple LED swaps on some of my Raylight Lands and my Raylight Pineapple Mini in Damascus, where I de-domed it too, so the result is pretty much a perfect tint in my opinion. If you're a tint snob, it's a fantastic LED. It's not the brightest LED that's available, but it produces one of the best quality tints in my opinion right now. And the TIR optic here makes it a very usable beam. It's not a perfect light though. One, for me, the markings here did not line up with the clip. I wish they did. It's not the biggest thing, but I just would prefer that. And the UI here takes a little bit of getting used to, but once you know that it takes a double click to turn on, from there it's pretty standard. The light doesn't accept flat top or unprotected batteries. You've got to run a protected battery or have a button top on this one, which is unfortunate because I have a lot of flat top unprotected cells. I do wish turbo lasted a little bit longer before stepping down too, without retriggering. The Acebeam E70 Mini is probably going to be my new pick for someone who wants to spend between $50 and $100 on an 18650 light with a tail mounted E-switch, especially if LED and tint is important to them. While there are cheaper ways to try the Nichia 519a LED, this to be a great way to get into one with a great light around it. As you can tell, I'm a big fan here and recommend the light. As always, guys, I'm interested to know what you guys think of the E70 Mini. It is available. I'll have a link to Acebeam's website below. And let me know in the comments if you want to pick one up. I'd love to know what you guys think of it. As always, thanks for watching these videos, and I'll catch you on the next one. Thanks for watching.